Made by people like you.
Your community, your radio, your Preston FM.
Now, do you remember the Guild? Well, of course you do. One of the lots of things that were memorable about the Guild, but one of the things I really enjoyed was Winckley Square. And if you were in Preston for the Guild festivities and went around Winckley Square, it was a brilliant time down there. There were lots of food stalls, lots of entertainers in the park. Well, coming up quite soon, there's going to be a Winckley Weekend, and to tell me more about that is my second guest of the morning. I've got John Crellin in the studio, and John is from Preston City Council, and he's the City Centre Planning Manager. So, John, a very good morning to you.
Good morning to you, Hughie. Thanks for inviting me in.
Lovely to meet you. And talking about the Guild there, did you experience, apart from all of the Guild, I mean, the things that were happening down there in Winckley Square, because it was absolutely brilliant over the weekend.
Yeah, I believe it was fabulous, but I was actually working down on the park for the duration of the Guild festivities, yes. Doing a bit of stewarding down there. They brought people in from the council to look after some events on the park. So whilst we were hearing about all the excitement from Winckley Square, I didn't actually get up there myself, but saw the photographs afterwards, saw the thousands of people that thronged the square during the Square Food Festival. Obviously, saw it afterwards and spoke to some of the people involved, and it was a tremendous success, and it's something that we'd very much like to build upon.
And it's like one of those things, when the sun shines, everybody talks to each other and smiles and enjoys themselves, and that's what was happening down at Winckley Square. So, this is coming up, I think, is it the 2nd and 3rd of May over that weekend?
That's right, we're looking ahead to early May. It's Friday the 2nd, Saturday the 3rd of May, so it's the run-up, it's that early bank holiday weekend in May. And we're looking at this 2-day event centred on some of the streets leading down from Fishergate down to Winckley Square. So looking specifically at Cannon Street, where we're sat now, Guildhall Street, Winckley Street, and then those linking between it, Cross Street at the bottom, part of Winckley Square as well. And in essence, what we'd like to do is we'd like to see more people coming down these streets off Fishergate, and people who work around here as well, to explore these streets and make them perhaps a more regular part of their visit to Preston, their being in Preston, because once you make that diversion down off Fishergate, you come down exploring, and we know people won't be disappointed. There's some absolutely fabulous places to find down here. It really, these streets and Winckley Square deserve to be a destination in their own right. And whether this analogy works, but I always sort of, we go to Manchester quite a lot. I know we shouldn't compare ourselves too much, but within Manchester, you have the Northern Quarter,
yes,
which is just, it's off the main pitch, it's off the main high street. It has that really interesting vibe about it, that kind of edgy feel. It's where you get the independent traders, people who want to do things a little bit differently. And I think we've already got that the start of that feel down these streets off Fishergate and going down towards Winckley Square. So we really want to enhance that. And as I say, try and establish these streets as a destination.
And I must admit, because I work here, of course, maybe a little biased, but I totally agree with you. And often as I walk around Preston, I mean, there are some quirky, eclectic little shops all on the side streets. And the other thing that is fascinating is that, as you say, we've got Fishergate at the top, and these streets also join the brilliant Avonham Park. And yet so many people come into Preston, they stay on Fishergate because of the main shopping thoroughfare, and don't realise that there are all these little shops, and also that you've got the park on your doorstep just down from Fishergate.
You're absolutely right, Hughie. It's those things that make a city unique. And I think those are Preston's assets that we just need to shout about a bit more. It's not that far, really, from Fishergate. 2 or 3 minutes into Winckley Square, another 2 or 3 minutes, like you say, you're into the park, you're down to the River Ribble. There's not many cities in the country that have that sort of relationship. So, we need to establish those routes. And if we can start familiarising people with those circuits that they can sort of do, they can become a regular part of their visit to Preston. And, the businesses down in these parts will benefit from that.
And, of course, the area has recently been given a huge boost because of the Heritage Lottery funding to renovate and bring buildings back into use. I mean, it is a beautiful square. Particularly during the summer and the spring, you often see the office workers who go and have the lunch in the square. And it really is a beautiful area. So over the weekend of the 2nd and 3rd of May, are we talking kind of street market and entertainers? Is that the kind of thing that we're looking at?
That's the sort of thing. What we're going to do, we'll close those streets I've mentioned to traffic to start with, to enable those streets to be used as spaces for to be used creatively for people to spill out on. I mean, first and foremost, this is about getting existing traders in the area to be able to sort of shout for themselves in a way, to spill out onto the street. We'd like to sort of inspire them to promote themselves over that 2-day period, and however they want to do that, we're happy to talk to them. So they'll have street space. They could dress up their shops and restaurants and cafes. They could do different sorts of promotions over the course of the weekend to sort of draw people in. We'll happily give all the publicity we can to all of those, so it will have that kind of sort of guild feel, the spirit of the guild kind of publicity given to that. So we can drive the footfall down, and it's a call out to traders to come and be part of that party, really.
And it was so easy during the Guild that people just seemed to find the square. I know we're talking about, and I know lots of local traders on the shops like Cannon Street. Some of them will have notice boards at the top of the shop on Fishergate directing the public down here. But over the Guild, I mean, people just came across the square and found all the things that were happening around there. Yeah. So it proves that it can be done, doesn't it? And that people actually will use the square and will shop down there if things are happening.
Yeah, you're right. And we will, we'll supplement the existing traders, what they offer already here, with vintage stalls, where the university themselves are very keen to become involved, get the colleges involved with fashion and performance elements, doing things very local in a way. We're going to establish a fashion hub within the area, and there'll be opportunities for the catwalks and to display some sort of vintage sort of fashion and fashion that's been created locally. You're right, we'll have some live music. We'll get a stage, we'll get some buskers, we'll get some street performers, we'll dress the streets, we'll make it look like a party. And then importantly also on the Friday, at the Friday event, what we'd like to do is encourage a sort of a business buy-in to it. The professional companies that we have on Winckley Square that do very well on Winckley Square, but again are a little bit tucked away. We're our friends at the BID, Business Improvement District, are going to hold their regular business hangout event on the Friday, but there are things that the office-based businesses could do as well, such as have open days, or could they have their own networking events around that sort of time, encourage people from outside Preston to come and visit them on that day and think, wow, this is something pretty special here. And it's going to give a really good launch to the heritage lottery schemes that you mentioned. We have secured stage 1 approval. Essentially, we've got the green light to go ahead and develop the schemes, and that's both for the park area and, as you mentioned before, for the buildings around it. And we've also got some money in that for public realm. So Cannon Street itself is going to be transformed in the way it will look. It'll have a new surface put down, which will make it much more attractive, and I think just encourage this kind of activity on a more regular basis.
And with the kind of semi-pedestrianisation of Fishergate, which I know at the moment lots of people maybe are struggling with it, particularly from this week and all the issues to do with the traffic. But the outcome, is going to be brilliant. You can really see it now taking shape, and I've heard so many people now pass comments who've not passed comments before on how it's looking and the width of the pavements now. So again, with that and Winckley Square, what kind of feedback do you get from the businesses around Winckley Square, etc.? What would they like to see down there?
I think it's just about developing confidence and a profile for the area, predominantly. It always has been the main location for the professional services, for the solicitors, for accountants, for the architects, for the PR companies. But it is still a little bit, if you look at it on a regional basis, a little bit unrecognised. And I think it's getting that name out there that Winckley Square is one of the Northwest top destinations for professional companies. And I think that, the way you do that is you create that sort of feel about it. We will invest, the public authorities will invest what they can through things like the Heritage Lottery Fund in the area, and by that you will get very positive publicity in the regional press. You'll start to appear in different locations, and I think the more you talk about it, the more you talk up an area, the better it becomes in a way. And I think that's what we're trying to do. We're working closely with the Winckley Square Community Interest Company, that the businesses themselves set up for that area. They work very closely with the council. We have a great relationship with them, and there are some people from the CIC working with us on this event, as you would expect. Just really sort of getting that positive feel for the area established.
Well, we know that we had over 1 million visitors to Avonham Park last year. So the people are still around, and the people will come if there are things there to attract them.
Yeah, absolutely. And what better weekend? It's early
That's
May.
Right, yeah.
Fingers crossed for the weather.
Yes.
You can't plan that, but you'd like to think getting into May, we should be starting to hit that. It's the start of the bank holiday. Hopefully people will be nice and chilled and relaxed, and will want to sort of stick around Friday afternoon, into Friday evening, and then come again Saturday to see what we're putting on.
Because although we're talking about Winckley Square, of course, the knock-on effect here is that this hits the economy throughout Preston. So we're talking about Winckley Square, but people have got to come to Preston, they've got to park, they do the shopping. So we're talking about actually the impact this will have across the board in Preston.
Yeah, an overall benefit. You're absolutely right, Hughie. It won't just be this area. It'll spill out into other areas of the city centre in terms of the increased footfall that we get. And long may this one continue. And we've got ideas for other areas of the city, in our minds, ready to roll out in due course as well, which I'm hoping you might invite me back in due course to talk about. So.
We definitely will invite you back, and I can tell you that I'm probably going to be one of the biggest fans for this, particularly after experiencing the Guild on Winckley Square. And I must admit, where I would love to see future developed is on the docks. But that's probably for another story. But we would love to have you back in. But any plans for the docks, you let me know
food
first.
For thought. Certainly food for thought.
You let me know first to come into Chat City and tell our listeners. So, John, where can people maybe find out more? Or when will you be asking people to maybe tender for stalls or tender to get involved with you?
We'll be, over the next few weeks or couple of weeks, talking to all the businesses in the area. There's already a pretty strong dialogue going on between businesses around here and the council in relation to the Heritage Lottery money. There is going to be a drop-in event on Tuesday the 1st of April at the Town Hall, where people can come in and find out a bit more about it. That's from 4:30 on that day. We'll do a bit of a presentation so we can just explain a little bit more about the event, but there'll be people on hand to answer specific questions. And we'll be, rolling things out through our own means of communication, through the media, as we get closer to the event. So, lots of different ways to get in touch. I'm available to speak to or email, so by all means, happy to answer any questions.
Brilliant. And that's going to be Friday the 2nd, Saturday the 3rd of May. And sounds like a brilliant weekend once again here in Preston. So, John, thank you for coming in this morning. And we do look forward to you coming back in and keeping us updated with all the things happening around the city. Brilliant.
You're very welcome. Thanks very much for having me.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
We hope you've enjoyed this interview as much as we have. Why not join our Chat City family and give us a tweet at Chat City PFM.